Good morning. Let me start with a story. This story happened 10 years back. On a November morning, 2015, an auto rickshaw driver in Calicut saw two people got trapped inside a manhole. And this was a very noble soul, so he immediately jumped into that sewer and tried to save those people, to contract workers from Andhra Pradesh. Unfortunately, all the three of them died. In fact, this actually created a lot of public furor, lot of news articles came, and people were lamenting that why in the new world, even people have to actually do this sort of a dangerous work. Why can't we find a solution for that? Now remember, even though the sacrifice of Mr. Naushad, the auto driver, was very unique, people getting into sewers, manhole, and dying is not very unique in India. Every month, close to around 100 people actually die in different parts of the country because they are forced to do such job. Think about this. When we pass through a drain, open drain, what we do? We will close our nose and try to move away from that. Think about people who actually go to every day getting into such filth, clearing it, clear the clogged drains, etc., for making a living. And it is not a small number. India has got close to around 5 million sanitation workers, of which many of them are doing very dangerous work in very dangerous situations, because pollution, as we know, is a major problem for the country. Now, the question is that what type of solutions we can bring to bridge this divide which is happening in the society. The story of Naushad's sacrifice actually faded into the memory, but not for a group of students who were not far from that place where it happened, in another engineering college. They were actually at that point of time trying to experiment with different technologies for different things. As a part of the innovation and entrepreneurship development cell in that college, they were doing some interesting experiments. And one of them is an exoskeleton. An exoskeleton is a device which you can wear, and when you wear this, you actually get powers with which you can actually raise very heavy weights with your bare hands. Some of you have seen Iron Man movie, must have seen how Iron Man actually lifts big weights as such. So the exoskeleton is a technology for that. So of course, being a college students, they actually created a very crude model of it, but it worked. And it worked, and people were very appreciative of that. And they were actually got a lot of accolades from teachers, students, and all the society per se. Now, when they heard this story of people getting trapped into the manholes and sewers, they were asking this question: can we actually repurpose this technology to save the life of such type of people who are actually happening across the country and maybe perhaps the other part of the world? Now, the time passed, and they passed out of the college. Being bright students, they got the job. And next year, in 2017, January, on the National Cleanliness Day, one of the vernacular dailies came with a news article where they show a picture of a person who is standing inside a manhole fully filled with filth and trying to clean it. The Honorable Chief Minister, who saw that, actually asked this question that why can't we actually find a solution to this, to all the Council of Ministers and others, and also the bureaucrats in the ministry. And then we actually did a search, and we found these youngsters who also share this dream of how do we actually take technology to solve a major problem of the society. With a very small grant, which Kerala Startup Mission has given, I was fortunate that I was heading that organization, CEO at that point of time. These youngsters started into the project of realizing that dream of creating a solution which could actually solve a major problem of the society. In a matter of around few months, they could actually invent the world's first drain cleaning robot. A robot where you can actually stand outside the drain and actually use that technology to do the work till that point of time somebody was doing by getting into the dirty hole per se. And Honorable Chief Minister has actually inaugurated that in the next February in the presence of the persons whose picture came in the newspaper. And for the first time in his life, the person could wear clean clothes and clean a dirty manhole, and with tears in his eyes that he can now do his job with a dignity as such. This is the power of technology which brings to us. And the story actually spread, and Honorable Prime Minister also took note of it. He has there was an exhibition of this product in Parliament House, and then we basically had this company actually grew big. Today, it is almost like an 1 billion INR company, having operations in around 18 states, and lot of accolades have come for these youngsters who have actually started that. But what is important for us is not that. While the work of these youngsters have actually brought smiles to a lot of faces, it actually solved a problem which was a bane for the society for several years, where people can actually start doing their job with a lot of dignity. The important question we need to ask is that how could a few youngsters with almost zero resources, but a passion to excel and knowledge, can actually make a world-class company and solve a large problem which was haunting us for several years per se. That is the power of digital world. When we hear about digital world, when we hear about AI, we speak about the disruptions which it brings to around us. We speak about the divide it brings in. We hear about the type of alienation it is bringing in. But digital also has a power to solve the existing divides in the society, to empower people who otherwise were not empowered as such. That is basically what the right way to lead the digital world per se. Now, if you look at that, that is primarily because the digital world is very, very different from the previous technological revolutions per se. We all know about the changes which is happening in the digital world. We have seen that how digital is becoming attractive to us. We have seen that how education is actually breaking the breakable and it's making it accessible. We have seen how a remote part of in India, if you go and buy a piece of candy, you can actually pay through your mobile phones, which I'm sure none of us thought that's possible a few years back. So the technology has actually gone so much inroads in all around us. But why is it so fast it has come in? For that, let us dive back and look at what happened across the years. The modern development is always linked with the industrial development. It started with the first industrial revolution in the later part of 18th century and the 19th century, when the steam engine, electricity, these things actually made difference in creating a lot of products which are affordable. When human power and animal power has actually been replaced by mechanical power, it actually brought products which are very affordable. The last century saw the evolution of IC engines, internal combustion engines, which we call as the machine that changed the world, the automobiles, the jet engines. People can actually move from one place to another place very fast. This has actually brought in a large number of products which is affordable, easily accessible to all of us. Then we have also seen a computer revolution which gave us power to do work at our own homes, and the service economy actually grew. And also the communication actually became very easy because of that. Today we are in the fourth industrial revolution, an evolution where digital, biological world are actually coming together and solving henceforth unsolved problems. The beauty of that is the new revolution is actually empowering people very easily because technology has much more democratized than what it was in the past. And that is primarily because in addition to the changes and shifts which is bringing it, it also has got some fundamental shifts when you compare with the industrial economy which we are all familiar with. The big difference between the oil economy or the industrial economy and the data economy is the one which enable a few people from a small village in Kerala can actually create a world-class product. The big difference is that when you think about industrial economy and industries, we always think about big, large industries. Centralization and massification was the key mantra in the past. From that, we are actually moving to decentralization, localization, and personalization. When the land, labor, and capital was driving the growth, today it is a talent, knowledge, and innovation which actually makes people succeed. And that is basically the context in which we actually speak about the startups and the new world of entrepreneurship as such. The question is that when a new world is emerging where competition is replaced by collaboration, when the world of economy creators is replaced by creator economy, where individuals can actually make a difference in the world, the question is that what should we do? Should we lead this world? Should we follow this world? Or should we ignore this? If you think that we can lead, and I was fortunate to enable people who could lead the digital world, and one of them is the example of the story which I have already told you. And to me, leading this new world actually happens through two aspects. There are many aspects, but primarily two aspects, if you can focus, you can actually lead the world. That they are entrepreneurship and education. And fortunately for me, I had the fortune of being part of both two attempts, two projects where these two things were actually being the focus of it. The first one was creating a technology entrepreneurship ecosystem in the state. When you think about Kerala, we always think about Kerala as a state which has very, very high level of human development index. We have a lot of social laurels which we got in our social development, but not so much in the economic aspect as such. Even though Kerala's economy is growing faster than the national average, we are not having large industries because of many challenges, because of the geographical limitations, etc. And we don't have too many non-linear industries which is available. But if you compare the globally, the startup ecosystems have grown in places where non-linear industries were there. It is an organic growth where a large industry actually support the development of the next set of industries per se. So what will you do in an ecosystem which is conventionally don't have such a non-linear growth industries are available? And that's not only for Kerala, many parts of the world have got this challenge. So we actually thought that, and we have developed a model which we call as a ground-up model of entrepreneurship, ground-up model of startups, where how do we actually innovate, how do we actually make people innovate and create solutions which will change the world, which will actually solve population-level problems. So that is basically a 6-stage model to solve the startup puzzle. The first is what we call as the inspire. We need to inspire the youngsters who has got knowledge, who has got passion to excel by showing them the challenges around us. So that is our first point of our puzzle. Once you are inspired and people are actually looking at solutions, say for example, the Naushad Shuri has actually inspired the youngsters to come out with a solution to that. The next thing is you need the skills to do that. You need to be educated for that. So we have set up fab labs, we have set up other technology units across the state so that people will be able to educate themselves to translate their passion to something which is productive and something which is a workable idea as such. That is basically where the next stage comes, where we need to actually translate that into something workable, where we need to experiment. Any new innovation is bound to fail. So there is a platform which is provided where people can actually experiment on that. Once we experiment and convert that into a prototype, the next stage is, can you convert that into something which market wants, something which customers accept? How do we actually translate into something which is scalable? That's basically where the incubators and accelerators actually come into picture, which becomes our fourth point of our puzzle. Once you come out of that and you come out with a minimum viable product which is working, which customers accept, you need to scale this up, which means you need funding, especially risk-based funding, and you need angels and venture capitalists and others. So we have created angel funds, we have created VC funds, etc., which will support them to the next level. Growth accelerator has actually been set up, which finally translate into impactful companies which actually solves the larger problems of the society per se. And this has given rich dividends to Kerala. From a mere 300 startups, we could actually grow into around 7,500 startups today. But not only that, many of them are the ones which I explained earlier, creating solutions for the larger problems of the society per se. Recognizing this, Kerala has been ranked as top performer state consecutively after the ranking was introduced by Government of India way back in 2018. All the years we have actually been ranked as a top performer, primarily because of the success of this model. Now, the second element which is important, along which is to be complemented with the technological world, is the education. It's important that entrepreneurship and education goes hand in hand. But the education in a digital world is very different from the education in the past, because people should actually transit themselves into the new world of changes as such. That's my second experiment which we have done, which I was very fortunate to be a part of initiative called Digital University, Kerala University of Digital Sciences, Innovation and Technology, where we look at how do you create talent, how do you do research, and how do you develop products which can actually make changes in the society. Take people with functional knowledge and provide them a technology cover. They may not have a technology background at all, but give them a technology cover so that they can actually excel and solve the problems of the society. We could, in a short period, we could train close to around 30,000 people in different aspects of digital world to help them to lead the digital world per se. And in a short period, the university could actually get the 4-star innovation ranking by the Government of India's institutional innovation ranking, primarily because of this change which has happened, perhaps the youngest university to get that. So these two attempts where we are trying to make changes through entrepreneurship, enabling people with passion to actually drive the next change and to enable them with the technologies and knowledge to ensure that they excel in the world and trying to make the solution is the right way to lead the digital world. As I said earlier, digital world is about disruption. It actually changes the way. But the question is that, is this disruption is going to disrupt us, or can we use this disruption to bridge the digital divides, bridge the divides in the society, not necessarily digital divides, but the problems which the society faces. In fact, what like Paulo Coelho said, not all storms comes to disrupt your life. Some storms comes to clear your path. Perhaps digital world is like that. When it is actually giving you the power at the decentralized level, it is giving the power at the individual level. If you can rightly fine-tune it, and that's what the experience of Startup Mission and Digital University has proven, is that you will be able to enable people to lead this new world. And that will be the way to create a more sustainable and a more equitable world. Thank you very much.